band directors, music teachers, private instructors, if you blindly recommend products to your students, not even blindly, but if you blanket recommend products to your students because you're sponsored by them, you work for that company, or you did a Google search and you found out, Chris Potter plays a certain mouthpiece, or, Josh Redman uses certain reeds, you're really doing a disservice to the students. And not because you're trying to recommend something. That's a good thing. You're the instructor, you're the teacher. You should be recommending things and products. And if a kid comes to you and says, or not even a kid, anybody comes to you and says, hey, my reed, I'm looking for reeds to play. I'm looking for a mouthpiece to play. If you are the type of person to just say, oh, use this, or I use this, so you need to buy this, or, oh, for classical, you gotta buy this, or, oh, you want pop sound, you gotta buy this. Stop. Just stop, please, for the sake of the student and for their parents and for their own wallets and all that. Just stop. And I'm not saying this randomly, and I'm not saying this because I'm creating a problem to try to solve it. The good thing about teaching virtually now, and I did it before this whole thing is going on, and the great thing about teaching virtually is I teach students from all over the place, all over the world, different countries, and then all around the United States. And I always ask them, who is their current teacher? Have they had a teacher? Blah, 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 blah. What do they recommend? What are you playing on? Just curious, questions. And a lot of times, they say they're playing on whatever mouthpiece, whatever reed, whatever ligature, whatever horn. I'm talking saxophone, but it could be any instrument. And I ask, why'd you get it? And a lot of times they're like, oh, I tried a whole bunch out, and this one felt the best to me, and it was in our price range, so we bought it. Cool. But sometimes, and I would like it to be much less than it is, sometimes I ask someone, usually a student, middle school, high school age, sometimes college, but usually not by then. I say, oh, you're playing on, that mouthpiece. Well, why are you playing on that mouthpiece, or why are you playing on that size? They say, well, my teacher recommended it. I said, that's great. What other ones did you try? And they say, well, none. They said I had to get this one. And I said, wait a minute, that's not really a recommendation. That's more of a, they kind of force you to do it. And they said, well, they said it's the best. Or they said it'll work best for the band, or work best for me. And I said, well, what'd they base that off of? And a lot of times it's, well, nothing. They recommend that to all their students. And that's really, really rough to hear, and really rough to say. And now sometimes it does work if they say, hey, a lot of saxophone teachers, for example, say, hey, get a Meyer 5 on alto with a 3 medium reed and a whatever. That's fine. If you say, hey, here's a medium setup, not too open, not too hard to play, not too classical, not too jazz, whatever, that's a fine starting point. But to just say, hey, I'm a band director and every saxophone player in my band has to play Van Doren Java reeds size 3. What? That doesn't make any sense. If you're an actual band director and you're able to even recommend that, that means you know something about saxophone or something about music, and you know that it doesn't work for everybody, depending on how they play, their air speed and their their embouchure and how big the kid is, and how all these other things factor into it. That's like saying to everybody, hey, you all have to wear size 9 shoes at the concert. You wouldn't do that, so why would you say they all have to play the same size reed, or even the same brand reed? Because every kid has, and keep saying kid, but it's really anybody that you recommend this to. I just say kid because that's mainly what I teach, and mainly where I see this more: high school, middle school, and elementary school. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, a kid doesn't know anything, so it's good to start him on a setup that I know works. And that's fine. If you say, hey, out of the box, I'm going to start him on Rico Orange Box 2 reeds with the Yamaha 4C mouthpiece and a metal ligature on alto, fine. On a trumpet, they're going to use a Box 7C to start, for example. That's fine. But what I'm talking more about are the kids, and once again, people who play for a while and they're on some pretty pricey setup, and I say why. It's always the why. If the answer isn't, well, I tried a bunch of different ones and I had people listen to me and I listened to it and I feel the most comfortable in this and it sounds the best and it's in my price range, that's probably not the best thing. If you say, yeah, it feels really hard to play, but my teacher said this is the best thing, no, that has to stop. And, you know, I sort of made a video on this a while back about ego, I think, and I mentioned this stuff, but this is specifically about gear because, like I said, from teaching people from all over the world recently, I've asked them this question a lot, and I don't like some of the answers I'm getting. And if you are a student and you're looking for gear, your teacher is and should be the first person you go to for information. But make sure they're recommending something based on what they think would work for you specifically. If they say, hey, I know you play with a ton of air and you're overblowing your current setup, maybe we need to use a harder reed or a more open mouthpiece or something, you know, whatever. Or if you don't use as much air or something, let's use a smaller mouthpiece, thinner reed or whatever. Or specifically if you're playing a certain style of music and your sound's really bright and you need a dark sound, hey, maybe try these reeds are a little darker, try them, see what happens. But there's people out there who just buy stuff off of a random recommendation that they either have never heard the student play or they don't really know anything specific about them, and that's ridiculous to me. And I hate to see that. So, a good amount of people might see this video and you might say to me, well, what do you do? And I have recommendations that I've tried and that I've used with other students. That's why I always say, hey, if you're looking for a new thing, why are you looking for it? What's your current setup? Why don't you like your current setup? What about it is bad or good? Then I'll give many recommendations. Then I always say, hey, let's try out a bunch, see what sounds good, what feels good, and what's in your price range. That's it. And then the other thing is about changing gear all the time. Some people say, oh, well, you've advanced beyond 2.5 reeds or 3 reeds. Well, that's like saying you advanced beyond a size 7 mouthpiece on brass, which, once again, I don't know a ton about brass mouthpieces. That's why when I do get asked about brass stuff, I consult brass experts. That's a whole separate video about staying in your own lane. But when I don't know something, I ask people who do know that. So that's the other thing is sometimes people recommend things because they don't know. Not every band director is going to be well versed and an expert in every instrument. That's very, I would say, not impossible to see, but that's very, very rare. I know I'm not an expert in all those fields. But if a drummer comes to me and says, you know what, these drumsticks don't feel right. Do you recommend something different? I say, do I recommend something different? No. But I know, talk to these people, they can help you out. All right, and I know this gets long-winded and I can ramble on, but I've just had a lot of thoughts about this recently, and the fact that we're not in person a lot of the times for these lessons, especially in the last 6 months, is even more of a reason why you shouldn't just recommend something randomly. I've heard of people giving recommendations and telling someone to buy something without even ever hearing them play in person, and that's just lunacy to me. By the way, when I use the word recommendation in this sense, just recommending something, saying, hey, I use this mouthpiece, it works for me and it's worked for all these students, maybe try it. That's just a regular recommendation. When I say teachers recommending something, I mean like they're telling them to play it. And that's what I'm saying not to do, is saying you have to play this, you have to play that, you have to use this, all right? So don't come at me for that. But, if you are a teacher out there who needs help recommending things, hey, if you're a saxophone teacher out there or you're just a teacher and you have saxophones in your band and you're curious about saxophone stuff, if you're ever unsure, send me an email. I'd be glad to help. I've had people do that in the past. Hey, Dave, I want my band, the lead alto has a really stuffy sound. I want to open up his or her sound. What do you recommend? I'll give recommendations for them to try out, and they can try them out, and then whatever works best you go with. I'm not going to say, oh, that's because they're playing a Yamaha 4C. You can never get a big sound with that mouthpiece. You've got to buy a Meyer 7. Stop. Just, it's just so, it's so unfortunate, because as educators, it's our job to be that guiding light, for lack of a better terms there. We are the guiding force into what they're going to purchase and buy and try. So it's our job to kind of say, hey, here's what has worked for certain people. Here's what's worked for me. Try it out for yourself. If it doesn't work, let's work on that and see what we can get to work. That's basically what I'm saying with this whole video. Don't just blindly or in a blanket sense say everybody has to use something. It's really bad, and it's really it's just rough on the kids and rough on your students, because they're looking for something that will help them, not something that you want them to play. Well, I want everybody the same sound, so I'm going to give everybody a Meyer mouthpiece. That's not going to give everybody the same sound. Not everybody's going to sound the same on a Meyer, and or whatever. And then the other thing is, you know, saying you have to buy a certain mouthpiece or reed or something that's out of their price range. You know, then it's going to be, oh man, I can't afford that. Then they're going to think they can never sound good because they don't have that expensive thing. And that sucks. I know I'd feel really rough if somebody told me I can only sound good if I have this horn. And if I couldn't afford that horn, then I'm going to resign myself to thinking I can never sound good. Bad. It's not good. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Once again, I know it was maybe a little rambly, but if you're here right now, thanks for sticking to the end. I appreciate it. If you have any experience with this, let me know in the comments below. If you're a teacher and you've experienced some form of this, if you are or were a student and experienced this, let me know. You don't have to like name names and start calling people out, but just let me know if you have dealt with this and how you overcame it, or if you're still overcoming it. And like I said before, this isn't to only the teachers out there, everybody. If you ever have any or if you ever want a recommendation or want any help with saxophone specific stuff, you know, I can give my thoughts on it. Just send me an email. It's always in the description down below. So thanks again for watching. Please browse my channel. I have all different kinds of videos, not just me ranting and complaining. I have gig videos on there, a lot of joke videos, a lot of fun videos. So check them out. Please subscribe as well. It helps keep you notified about all those new videos that are coming out. We are getting close to 20,000 subscribers, which is like insane to me. I believe as time of filming this, we're 18,300 or so. So we'll be hitting 20,000, you know, before the end of the year, which is really, really cool. So please share this around. And I have a new logo that's out. I'll put it on the screen right now. Hope you guys enjoy that. There are going to be maybe a couple things coming out that use the logo, and I'll let you guys know about that when that happens. But thank you for all the support once again. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.